I know the title's quite inflammatory and I appreciate you clicking on it because this is something that's been in the back of my mind. It's been really annoying me and I really wanted to talk about it a bit more for like 3 weeks. So a few weeks ago on my live stream, I held a your worst Warhammer hot takes. And I jokingly said that like my viewers are the ones that cause drama and I'm allowing them to have a platform to cause drama. In doing so, I had one viewer and their hot take was, sportsmanship has ruined 40k. When you say that, you get the inflammatory title and it's, what the f*** are you talking about? What are you on about? This is ridiculous. But the conversation developed where it's not that specifically sportsmanship ruined 40k. It's that like, when people play, especially on the top tables, especially like people like me or anyone else who play on the top tables, play on live streams, for example, you tend to play 40k very openly. It's a very much like an open book policy, which is good, right? Well, you start your turn, you know, don't forget I can move and then try advance, and then I can charge this distance with this ability. I can also advance this far and then charge or whatever. And people are very open about it, and that's how 40k is. Which I'm not saying is a problem, but it's something that's kind of like, it's been really bugging me because I think this person was so right. The thing is with it, is that like, because of this open, you can tell I'm quite like, I'm like, it's just been something that's bugging me. Sportsmanship has ruined 40k. What did they mean by that? Is that they were watching a live stream and their words they used were, they said it was quite televised. I.e., when you play top level games, you express your intent. It's like, my plan is I'm going to go this far to do this, and then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to use this to do that, okay? But also, you can do this, right? And you have that, okay? And you can do this, yeah? Or to simple it down, I'm going to do X, Y, Z, okay? And usually when people on the top tables and when good players, when they declare intent, usually it's based on averages. So they kind of know that that's going to happen. What they want to happen is going to happen on average, you know? We play a dice game. You can roll below and people can roll above, you know? There's these averages, these spikes. But a lot of the time, because I've been watching streams since then, and it's like when people say, I'm going to do X, Y, Z, X, Y, Z happens. You might be like, Mikey, what are you talking about? I already know how a turn's going to go. If I'm listening to someone who is knowledgeable in 40k, who's playing, I already know how the turn's going to go because they kind of declare how the turn is going to go because that's the intent they're trying to do. They're moving this to stop this. They're moving here to shoot that. They're moving there to get this XYZ charge to do that. And then they play that turn. And these things just happen because on average, usually it happens. Like I said, there are spikes. Someone makes a bunch of saves. We roll a 1 and we needed a 2 and we re-roll it and it's another 2. You know, like things like that happen, but not very often. It's actually quite infrequent that happens because when people discuss intent and stuff like that when they're playing, is that it's very likely to happen because they've seen it happen so many times. There's no trap card, you know? Like famously, Yu-Gi-Oh! You reveal my trap card. You're not supposed to know what the trap card is. In 40k, we don't have that. Now, is that a problem? I don't think so. I don't think it's necessarily bad that we have that. But also, like the viewer was saying, like on a live stream, it's almost like the turn's decided when the guy says, I'm going to do X, Y, Z this turn. I already know what's going to happen now. On average, as long as he's not talking absolute rubbish, X, Y, Z will happen. And that's quite boring. I'm going to play out the conversation that I had with the viewer. I've like chopped out the most important bits, but I think it's a very interesting conversation of like, there's no secrecy in 40k, which is good because people play with an open book and everyone knows what's going on and there's no bad actors. But if we didn't have bad actors, would some secrecy, some reservedness make Warhammer interesting?
I'd be surprised if this one wasn't spicy, to be fair. Okay. My take is that gotchas, to a certain extent, are fine. I think that the Warhammer competitive community is allergic to them because the Warhammer competitive community ultimately doesn't accept variance. They don't have the skill that TCG players have, which is you need to be able to deal with the unknown and adjust on the fly. Talking of TCGs, I would compare it to basically everyone at a table seeing each other's hands all the time when playing the game.
That is a hot take. Why do you think that is should change? Like, why do you think like gotchas should be a thing? Just because it shows skill?
Well, because it's a type of skill that they've basically managed to community outrage their way out of the game. The idea of at the start of the game, I need to know exactly what you're going to do. I need to know exactly how much you can do it, and I need to know exactly when it can happen. It's crazy. I really enjoy playing Warhammer. I really get a lot of fun out of it.
Sure.
But I end up enjoying TCG more because you can pull out tricks. You can poker face your way through things.
Yeah.
But if in Warhammer, if someone says, hey, what have you got in reserve and where can it come in? You basically have to give them all of the options of where that unit's going to come in. You can't hold any cards close to your chest. You just got to sit there and be like, yeah, I was thinking of going for your home actually, but now you can just go screen, I guess. Yeah.
And listen, quite inflammatory. And also, I'm stood up so you know it's a different time. One sec. Okay, stood up me is now. Quite inflammatory. The viewer initially describes it, but there's more juice. So don't just get angry at the viewer. And that's not what I want. I don't want people to get mad at this person for having such a horrible opinion, the one that's different to everyone else's. But it's just I think there's something here.
You can't punish people for mistakes, and I get to a certain extent it's because bad faith people will take it too far. But I feel like there's a middle ground that we've let slip completely by just being well, it's an open book theory now. Everyone knows everything. You just got to have to somehow. I was watching LGT streams all over the weekend.
Sure.
The only unknown moments that ever happened was someone spiked some saves. That was it. Otherwise, the top players were literally I'm going to go here, this is what I'm going to do. And the other person will be like, yep, I know that's exactly what you can do. They've agreed upon it. And otherwise, the turns were really televised. Everyone knew what was going to happen. It got real stale. To a certain extent, we need, at the very least, there needs to be there are 3 potential strats you can take into a game and 1 that you get to keep secret. The others are all public, but you get to hold 1 strat that's I don't actually have to tell you this one. So there's there's some potential counterplay. This is how far I could potentially advance. Cool, you've measured exactly the angle you need to never get hit by my thing. There's no punishment for mistakes, because the mistake in Warhammer is simply not asking the question. It's not a misplay, it's you didn't ask.
So what do you think about the rebuttal of Warhammer is far too big of a game, there's too much going on, it takes too long to play, it's unfair to expect people to play like LGT, we've just seen people play 10 games, so 30 hours into Warhammer, are we still expected to remember every single stratagem from every single army in every game and every unit data sheet and every ability?
I would say it's the same as my comparison would go to TCG again, where it's you can ask to see someone's deck list, you can't see their hand.
Sure.
I shouldn't have to spell out for you what my potential actions are going to be in their entirety. There should be some mystery and counterplay. Instead, with Warhammer, it's very much, I can pretty much work out, if I ask enough questions, exactly how the next turn is going to go.
And that's the thing. Card games. I've been playing loads of Gundam TCGs, and the prizes are actually huge. Compared to Warhammer, it's crazy. There's some events that are there's multiple happening all around just my local area. There's 5 where the prize was a card, but the card is exclusive and you can only get it by winning those events. So the price of the card is skyrocketed to 500, 600, £700 for 1 card. And it's not the same value of this one. I cut it in half. It costs pennies to make, but because people want it, it's 700 quid. In card games, if I've got a hand, this is all you see. I've got cards. And in this one in particular, and obviously it might change with different card games, but in Gundam, the first turn, all you know is I've got 5 cards. You don't know what they are. You don't know if they're a unit, a command, a trap card, a magic card, a monster. You don't know what colour they are, which would tell you what sort of playstyle my deck might be. You don't know what my supporting colour is. You don't know if I can do anything in your turn. You don't know if I can only do it in my turn. And I thought that was a really good analogy, is that in these events where we're playing for a £700 card, on the first turn, all you know is I've got cards in my hand. You've got no idea what they are. You don't know what I'm playing until I do it. And then when I've done it, it's your job to counter it and try and think about what I could do to counter that. But you don't know what I could do because it's whether I've got cards in my hand, which you can't see. And my point is that the stakes are quite high because you're playing for quite a large prize pool, really. I'm starting to think maybe just trading card games are just kind of rubbing off on me, and I'm starting to see some things that maybe 40K should do. If you're playing a card game, you can't go, what's in your hand? You know, you might be a public deck list that you can check, but usually the deck lists are published afterwards, you know, so you know it's not like an illegal deck. Whereas in like Warhammer, if I want to ask what card's in your hand, I kind of know what cards you have, but it's just when you use them is the question. Or not even stratagems. It's more like, can you do this? Can you get this distance to see this? Can you make this charge? Can you do X, Y, Z? Whereas in a card game, you can't do that. You can't ask if you can do X, Y, Z. You just have to wait for it to happen and then deal with it. Maybe card games are just... maybe it's just card games that I'm like really relating this to. I don't know. There's more anyway. There's no like, not even like what type of colour you're playing. Nothing is revealed at the table. I only know what my opponent's playing is when they start putting cards down.
Yeah, I think that's the other end of the pendulum. Like that's just all mystery, no knowledge, which is fine. And that's kind of deal. I would just like the pendulum to swing just a notch or two the other way. Just one or two things I don't necessarily have to inform my opponent, like, well, yeah, I was thinking about sneaking this unit into your backlines. Actually, no, go ahead and move everything around to prevent me doing that.
But on the other side, I do totally agree, because we have inherently a gotcha stratagem in the core rules. It's called Overwatch. That is inherently a gotcha, because it's supposed to, it's always supposed to be after you start or end a move, I'm going to shoot you. Oh, I'm going to move. And it's like, okay, well, my unit with like 17 flamers is going to Overwatch. And they go, oh, what's the range? I'm just going to stay out of that.
The example I like to give is the Feel No Pain with Custodian Wardens. I wish we had things that were more restrictive like that, because then there is mystery and counterplay. You can bait out a Warden to pop their Feel No Pain. There is actual mind games involved in that. It can be like you stage a couple units that can see 2 units of Custodies. You aim the first one, you say, I'm about to shoot, and then you say, you have to decide whether you want to pop your Feel No Pain. They say yes, and you go, go, I'm going to shoot the other unit. That's actually interesting. There's so little of that in the game, forcing choices. It's for the most part, it is a worked out thing of I'm going to efficiently trade units by working out exactly how far you can put your units until one of us manages to get more lucky with the cards and score more points.
Sure.
Like that's really how it feels once you get into the nitty gritty of the top tables.
I think Warhammer is too big and too long to be able to focus that long on, you know, remembering rules, remembering threat ranges from information that I just have rather than asking at the time.
I don't want it to be we go full pendulum the other way and everyone's tricking each other all the time. I just like a bit more. Just like I said, maybe one mystery strat out of a potential 3. If an opponent's good, he can probably work out which one of those 3 you picked based on his army. So it's not that much mystery, but just something. Not everything. Just one thing that I could be like, I outplayed them, not because I had to trick them because they knew everything, but because I had one ploy I could do.
So that's the crux of it, and shout out to the viewer that joined me for that stream. I've specifically not used their name just because I don't want people, I don't know, being like, this person is a knobhead for suggesting this, I will hunt them down. But it's definitely an interesting one, and it's had me thinking. And like an idea that I had was like secret objectives, right? So you draw your two cards, and you don't tell your opponent what they are. I play out my turn, and I don't tell you what they are. So for example, if I have Area Denial, I'm going to move to the middle. I'm going to be within 6. You know, if in a normal game, if I have Area Denial and my opponent has a reactive move, they'll probably go, I'm going to reactive move, so you can't get 5 points, you only get 2, you know, because that's just the ultimate counterplay to Area Denial is a reactive move. But what if I had Area Denial, but you didn't know? Or what if I moved a unit within 6 of the center, or within 3 of the center, as if I was going to score Area Denial, and then you have to make a choice. Do I have Area Denial, so you want to move to deny it? Or am I baiting a reaction so then I can do something else that you can't now stop? And that suddenly sounds like a trap card. It suddenly sounds like not being able to televise something because I am actively keeping the mission I'm doing secret. And this is just one example. It's actually Spearhead already does this, the mini version of Age of Sigmar. In that game, you draw 3 cards, you draw up to 3 in your hand, i.e. drawing 3 objectives or drawing 2 missions at the start of the turn. Whilst these have commands, also known as stratagems, they are objectives. So you can either use it as a command or as an objective to score points. Now, we don't need the command bit because we've got those, but what if I drew 2 cards, and we'll pretend these aren't Gundam cards, and you just don't know what they are? Because I realized in the current mission pack, which is not written for secret objectives, but let's say it was, there's only like 3 cards that don't work. Mark for Death would need to change. Tempting Target would need to change. And Sabotage would need to change. But every other secondary, Area Denial, Cleanse, Bring It Down, Assassinate. Now, imagine you were playing a turn and you've got like a vehicle and 2 wounds, and your opponent is lining up all their shots to kill a vehicle, and you've got like a defensive strat, like, I feel no pain, minus 20p, smoke screen, you know, whatever. You've got to decide, is he trying to get Bring It Down because it's nearly dead and he's lined some guns up there? Or does he have Assassinate? Does he have Assassinate and he's actually going to kill my character, so I would like rather keep Armor of Contempt over here, but he's just moved a unit onto an objective there, hiding. Is he doing that just to score primary? Or they, should I say, got to cleanse? And maybe I need to Overwatch because it's a person on 1 wound or whatever. And I think that's what's been bugging me, because I think Sportsmanship hasn't ruined 40k. The open book policy makes 40k very televised. So maybe to make it less televised and make it interesting, not only on the tabletop, to add these ultimates, to add these little tricks that aren't gotchas, you know, me moving a unit to the middle and pretending I've got air denial isn't a gotcha, it's a ploy, it's a trick, you know, it's like subversion. Maybe 40k is just a bit boring when we keep saying what's going to happen because we declare our intent and then the intent just happens. Maybe it needs something to make it interesting, to add spice, to add the moment, you know? People always say that, and as someone who's streamed events literally all around the world, people always say 40k is really boring because there's like watching football for 90 minutes. It's like 22 people kicking a bag of air around. However, they score, you know, and scoring is the crazy bit. Whereas Warhammer doesn't have that. You gradually gain points. You're just kicking the bag of air around, and at the end, you kick into a goal. What if we had goals throughout where it's like, oh, he did this, and then this happened, and they had this, but the opponent didn't know? That's something, and it's not even foreign to 40k because we had secret missions and gambits, you know? We had those things, keeping something secret, but the problem with those is that, like, people say they were shit. The problem is that, like, when it's turn 3 and you're 40 points behind and you got 2 units on the board, it's very obvious if you start running to the corners to try and score Orbitum Bombardment or whatever it was called. It was very obvious you got like 2 units, but what if there was that ploy every single turn? What if there was that secret, that trick? There's not a gotcha because we don't want people to be arsewipes. There's been plenty of examples of that in the past. But just a little, you know, bit of shock factor, a bit of ruse, a bit of poker face.
There's no punishment for mistakes because the mistake in Warhammer is simply not asking the question. It's not a misplay, it's you didn't ask.
Ultimately, this video changes nothing because it's not like Games Workshop are going to listen to me and be like, yeah, Mike, what's your idea for 11th edition or whatever. But I just think it's an interesting one because I want 40k to be the best thing possible because I am quite heavily invested in it. I want 40k to be the coolest thing possible because I think it is the coolest thing possible. That and Gundam card game. And I just want to see it go from strength to strength. It doesn't even have to be secret objectives, but that seemed like such an easy one to be like, yeah, secret objectives. Fucking, that's so cool. Let's do that. Oh, I'm going to stop them scoring this card. And they didn't actually have that card. They were just trying to make you think they had that card while they did something else. I think 40k is quite dull sometimes. Especially as a viewer watching a live stream. Jesus Christ. 3 hours and nothing happens until the last 3 minutes a lot of the time. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Hopefully you enjoyed this podcasty thought process video. And if you liked it, make sure you leave a like. If you haven't already, hype the video. That helps out. If you hype the video, depending on how many people hype it, how many people watched, how many subscribers I've got, it's equivalent to like hundreds or thousands of likes at a time. So if you could do that, that'd be really cool. If you're on mobile, swipe on the comments and it'll show up. And if you like this sort of conversation, you want to get involved, like I said, let me know down in the comments, but also join my live streams. I live stream every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You can get involved in Warhammer hot takes because it seemed to be like an interesting way to form a discussion. And thank you again to Mr. X, the viewer who came on with their hot take and got this little worm niggling in my brain for the past 3 weeks. And yeah, thanks so much for watching, and hopefully I'll catch you next time.